10th, 2025. This is MetroPlan Orlando Regional Planning Board for Transportation. Good morning. My name is Bob Delari, Chairman. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please silence all electronic devices to limit interruptions. In addition, I'd like to ask everyone to speak into the microphone. It's important that we're recording this meeting. The guests in the audience who are hearing impaired, we have a staff member, Lisa. She's right directly in front of me, a little bit to my left. If you cannot be heard, please let us know. We'll try to make arrangements for you. You'll have two opportunities to speak at the meeting publicly. Public comments on action items will appear in today's agenda before the action item, and comments in general nature will be heard at the end of the meeting. Each time you'll be given 2 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address clearly for the record. Anyone attending the meeting in person who wishes to make public comments, please fill out a speaker card. If you can't find it, please let us know. They're at the front door or at the reception desk. And again, if you still can't find it, please let us know. We'll make sure that staff gets you one. We also have them electronic for people that are on the internet. We want to make sure that all future meetings are accessible to all, and participants may join either computer, a tablet, or on your phone. And we'll make accommodations as appropriate. Please let us know in advance if possible. I'm going to ask you all to stand. I'm also going to ask Mayor Dyer to lead us in the pledge. Mayor Dyer.
Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we get into the board members report, I'd like to welcome a newest board member, Stephanie Kopalopoulos. Does that come close? Kapalusa? Okay. I'm practicing. I really am. She's also the board chair of GOA at the airport. She's going to be a new representative here at MetroPlan. Stephanie, is there anything I'd like to address the board?
I just want to say it's an honor to be here. Transportation is my passion. So it's nice to be in Central Florida, call this home now, but to work with so many people that we've been in the trenches with, DOT, the mayor, commissioner, on so many issues that are important to this area. So look forward to being a part of this group and being helpful.
Thank you. We welcome you. And again, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Kopalopoulos, right?
Call me Stephanie.
Kopalopoulos.
Good.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
If I could for a minute, let me see if I can bring this on. I just, for those that don't know, I know Stephanie as Secretary Stephanie. She used to be the Secretary of the DOT before she, went to County Manager of Clay County.
I didn't know that. Okay.
She has been, before that, just working in the Disney property. Now she's with the airport, but Stephanie Kopalopoulos was the leading individual. When we were working in the Senate, when I was in the Senate, we were working on Sunrail. She was the Secretary of DOT. And I will tell you that she and I laugh about it now, but we would have 4 o'clock in the morning phone calls trying to get that bill passed. She actually, I think, and please don't take this wrong, but she sometimes slept on the couch in my office, when we were working late nights and everything. But she was the guiding individual in making sure from the state level that we got Sunrail here in Central Florida. And I just want everybody to know that as she comes into this job with us.
And I'd be also remiss if I didn't thank Carson Good for all his hard work that he's done over the years at MetroPlan. He's not going away. He's just having other assigned duties. And I saw, oh, there's Carson in the back. And I just wanted to recognize Carson for all the hard work that he's done over the past couple of years at MetroPlan. So thank you, Carson. Okay, at this time, we're going to hear from the CFCRC report. They met on July 24th. I'd like to ask Commissioner Janer for her report. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. As Commissioner Delory said, or Chairman Delory, that we met, CFCRC met on July 24th, 2025. We did have a quorum. We approved the April meeting minutes. We ratified Osceola CAC members and reappointed Seminole CAC members. And we also approved the CFCRC legal services contract with Kaplan Kirsch LLP. We also receive agency updates from Lynx for the Lynx 311 bus service and the SunCard conversion campaign. Ridership continues to grow, and average daily ridership from April to June 2025 was 5,184, which represents a 13% increase from 2024. CSE, TAC, Lynx, and Votran also provided updates to the commission. We had some informational items, which included FTA discussion on the Sunrail transition. The CFCRC decided that there will be a work session to answer questions posed by the FTA. Exploration of weekend service. There was a robust discussion following this presentation, which included ridership expectations, locomotive acquisition and maintenance, and how the increased service could potentially be paid for. This topic will also be explored more in depth at a future work session. We also had a budget update. Our next CFCRC meeting is scheduled for September 25th. Thank you. That's my report.
Any questions for the commissioner? Okay, seeing none. Our next report, the MPOAC met on July 24th. We have Commissioner Uribe. She's also the statewide group chairman. Chairman?
Good morning, Chairman, and everyone that's here. Yes, the MPOAC Governing Board and Staff Directors met on July 24th here in Orlando, which most of our meetings take place. Minutes of the April 25th Staff Directors meeting were approved. Minutes of the 25th MPOAC Governing Board were approved. And we had a report from our new Executive Director as her first few months on the job, Amanda Carpenter, who was a former DOT employee. The report included an announcement of the next MPOAC Institute scheduled for Friday, February 10th at Palm Beach TPA. If anyone on this board is interested, we have opportunities. We have brought back the Institute to assist. We approved minor budget changes that were largely due to being without the ED position filled. We approved the addition of another consulting firm for use on MPOAC work. We discussed updates to the legal services agreement. We had a review of the MPOAC bylaws and discussed possible changes. We received updates from DOT and Florida Highway, and FDOT provided a report on the July 23rd Florida Metropolitan Planning Partnership meeting. Our next meeting for the MPOAC will be taking place October 23rd. We have started to incorporate some trainings for governing board, which will be, Gary, I haven't been able to tell you yet, which will be the first time we're going to do to kind of get our elected officials up to par and knowing what's going on and understanding a little bit more. And I want to say, when I hired the new executive director, I challenged her to go out to all the MPOs. I shared this with Secretary Tyler. And so far, she has visited with 16 out of the 27 MPOs statewide. And so we're aggressively trying to hear what these regions are looking for and what they want out of the MPOAC. And lastly, I'm heading to Sarasota on Monday to meet with Representative McFarland to hopefully prevent any more axing of MPOs in Tallahassee. So fingers crossed we have a successful visit with the representative. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Any questions for the commissioner? Any hands raised, Lisa?
No hands raised.
Thank you. This time we'll go to the TBLCB, Transportation Disability Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board, also met on August the 14th. And we're going to go back to Commissioner Uribe. She attended that meeting. Commissioner, you have a report for us, please?
Double duty. Normally that's Mayor Bates, but I did cover her that day. The TDLCB met Thursday, August 14th. The only actions that were the approval of the June 12th meeting minutes. Our presentations included a status update on the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, a CTC update from Access Links, and a presentation on understanding the difference between ADA and TD eligibility. And that was very, very good that we presented. The next TDLCB meeting is scheduled for November 13th, 2025 at 10 a.m. This will be the annual public meeting, so if you do attend, be ready, bring a snack, right, Mayor? I also wanted to add, we got into a very positive conversation about trying to include the TDLCB in the MPOAC Institute so that they can start learning about transportation and really how it affects them all the way down to the transportation disadvantaged. And I'm hoping that we get one member to attend that on May 10th. That concludes my report. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Any questions in person? Lisa, any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. We'll move on. At this time, we're going to have our safety moment from our staff. I believe Mike Wilson will be talking about our safety moment and red light running. Michael.
Thank you, Chairman Delary, and good morning, everyone. As Chairman mentioned, red light running was the focus in August. That was FDOT kicked off a campaign. This is a screenshot from one of the videos they shared during the month, just illustrating the obvious consequences of red light running. We don't have to, really belabor that. As a problem, generally in our area, about 176 serious or fatal crashes per year involve red light running, and some aren't necessarily categorized as that because we may not know which driver ran the red light, but we know somebody violated in some of those crashes. So that's about 12% of our serious crashes. And not surprisingly, younger drivers, those 15 to 29, are 2 to 3 times higher risk given their population for that type of crash. We know the obvious things as far as paying attention, not being distracted, but perhaps a less obvious connection with red light running is speed, the operating speed that we're moving at. The yellow signal phase is based on the posted speed. So if you're going, say, 10 miles an hour over, if you're going 45 in a 35 zone, you need an additional 114 feet of stopping distance. 76 of that is your braking distance. So just going the posted speed is going to reduce your risk of accidentally running a red light. And that concludes my safety moment for this month.
No hands raised.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize our Executive Director, Gary Hutman, for his announcements and agenda review. Mr. Hutman?
Yeah, good morning, Chairman Delary and board members. I also want to welcome our newest board member, Stephanie Kapelousis, representing GOA as their primary member. And in addition, we're welcoming Joe Nunziata, who will be the non-voting member to the board representing the Orlando Executive Airport and will also serve as Stephanie's alternate when she can't make a meeting. I believe that we have Mayor Woodruff and Councilmember Gilbert both joining us online this morning. Mayor Espinosa, good to see you this morning. Thank you all for being here. Throughout the year, and maybe even longer than that, you've heard about the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan at your meetings. You'll hear a little bit more about it this morning. It's getting very close to the end. We'll be hosting a public meeting on Monday, September 29th. This will be an open house format with stations set up for the public to wander around and choose the topic of interest and go get their questions answered. It will also include an area for those attending to take a bit of a break from the open house and sit and chat with one another, perhaps have a snack. It will be at the Orange County Multicultural Center, located at 7149 West Colonial. You've heard also about the Lake to Lake Regional Trail at the past several meetings. We will be hosting, and we've sent save the date notices to about 30 individuals for the first Lake to Lake Regional Trail Workshop. That will be October 16th here at MetroPlan Orlando. Virginia and I had a meeting already with Samantha Brown, who's the director of the Office of Greenways and Trails, to make sure that we're heading down the right path and can get to the point where we can request that trail make it on either the opportunities map or the priorities map. When Virginia and I were talking with Samantha about that, she encouraged us to request to go straight to the priorities map given all the work that's been done on it already. So that's very positive. We also have a pre-workshop meeting scheduled for September 23rd with the key staff members from each of the three counties about their role at this first meeting to make sure that they understand the expectations of them and that we can make the most of our time together. So look forward to that. Congratulations to the city of Apopka, was recently awarded a $17.3 million build program grant to assist with the Ocoee Apopka Complete Street and Trail project. So congratulations, Mayor. In December last year, MetroPlan Orlando received a grant under the Federal Highway Administration Prioritization Process Pilot Program. We refer to it as the 4P project. And that discretionary grant was for $2 million. The funds were delayed for a bit, but have been released. And we are negotiating a grant agreement with FHWA. That grant will enable a collaboration between us, MetroPlan Orlando, DOT District 5, UCF, and our consultant team to develop and implement a pilot prioritization process specifically for technology and TISMO related strategies. It will also provide a public interface to examine impacts from those type of improvements and increase the effectiveness of public engagement in prioritizing those projects. A bit on the peer exchange that you've all heard about. I now have a preliminary head count of 20 to 25 elected officials, plus a few key staff members. I had previously indicated that this event was going to take place, and it still is, from 10 until 2. But the agenda has changed a bit. The first 2 hours are going to be spent in kind of a panel discussion with the elected officials from Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas, and our staff. And you're certainly welcome to attend that. But what their elected officials are really looking forward to is to spend a little bit of time kind of one-on-one with you, with board members, to ask questions. And we'll have this room and 3 other conference rooms set up so that you can comfortably do that. So those of you that were planning to attend and have an interest in attending, we're really only asking for a 2-hour period rather than a 4-hour period. Sorry. The date is October 16th. Yeah. So I hope that some of you can make it. And they have asked specifically
Gary, October
for
16th or 26th?
of October.
Okay.
Yeah.
From 12 then to 2?
Because I thought it was October 20 something, 26th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was confusing it's October 27th, I believe,
Okay.
or 26th.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's that.
That's the reason why I'm questioning you, because I remember we specifically spoke about, it was something in the 20th, not the 16th.
Yeah, I apologize. I got
Okay.
my dates confused. They did ask if we could get an elected official from one of our less populated cities, and I'm looking to the Municipal Advisory Committee perhaps for that. Commissioner Smith, if you could make that meeting, that peer exchange, that would be great. If you can't, just let us know and we will tap into some other MAC member. But they would, excuse me, they would appreciate that. Commissioner Uribe mentioned the MPOAC Institute, and I've talked with several of you about that and your interest in attending. It is Friday, October 10th in West Palm, and it's a one-day training session on the work that you do here as MPO board members. It's just a short bright line ride, and let me know if you're interested in that. I have been talking with the MPOAC executive director, and we're looking at the next opportunity to have that training here. In the past, it's typically been in Orlando and Tampa, and this year it's done a bit differently. Congratulations to Adriana Rodriguez on our staff. She was appointed to the National Cooperative Highway Research Program project panel. This appointment was made by the chair of the National Research Council and the chair and members of the TRB Executive Committee. So congratulations, Adriana, on that. This morning, under agenda review, you will not be hearing from an airport. Because I met with Lance Little beginning of August, and he had indicated to me when he heard that he was up to bat for this board meeting that he would be out of town, and he is. But he did tell me that he would be prepared to present at the November meeting. Also on your agenda, and I just want to bring it to your attention, I've mentioned this to a number of you, under the consent agenda is a resolution of support for the I-4 St. Johns River Bridge project. And that is to support DOT's pursuit of new or additional funding for those bridge improvements that would be necessary as part of that segment 4 project. We had talked with Secretary Tyler early on in this process to make sure that the department was thought that that was a good idea. And his guidance to us was just to make sure that the wording in the resolution said that it's new funding so that it doesn't take away from anything else. And that's in there. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Chairman Delary, that completes my announcements.
Great, thank you, Gary. Any questions for Mr. Hutton?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Gary, so can you go ahead and just confirm, so on the 27th, you need us from 12 to 2?
12 to 2, yes, and we'll
12
have
to
box
2.
lunches for that.
Again, that's on the 27th, correct?
Yeah. I-
27th?
about that. Yeah. Yeah.
This building.
Yeah.
Gary, can you send us an email out clarifying the
Yes,
27th?
we'll do that.
Any other questions in person,
Also that,
Commissioner? That's all right.
can you send us this through email, please, so that way we can share it with them?
Yes, we'll get that
Okay.
out to you.
Thank you.
Lisa, is there any hands raised?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. This time move to agency reports, FDOT, Secretary John Tyler, Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, board members. It's
Morning.
good to be back. And I also would like to congratulate and welcome Stephanie Kopalusas to MetroPlan Governing Board. Commissioner Constantine took us on a little, history ride, and I'll do likewise. When they were working on Sunrail in the legislature, it wasn't too long after that Stephanie was still my secretary at FDOT, and we were getting ready to begin the construction for Sunrail. 15, 16 years ago. So it has certainly changed the landscape of Central Florida, and I think that this board is going to benefit from her passion and her experience and her expertise. So welcome, Stephanie. So legislative session is just around the corner. It's going to be an early session this year, starting in January, which basically means that the building our next work program is in high gear. We will be having public hearings the week of October the 20th. We'll be having virtual public hearings basically each night of the week of the 20th. Our in-person public hearing will be in DeLand on Tuesday, October 21st. So we are definitely in full swing trying to bring that work program in for a landing. So just want to give you a little bit of context of what you might be able to expect in that. So the Revenue Estimating Conference was held in August. This is something that's done every year in anticipation of building this work program. And it is showing a slight downward forecast in the revenues for transportation. Now, this is going to be in addition to, some of the dock stamp revenue reductions that were passed from last legislative session. That will also, start showing itself as we're building this work program. So a slight downward tick in revenues, as we go into building this next work program. Estimates, while not increasing as fast as they have over the last several years, they're certainly not going down either. They have not flatlined, so they are still trending up, especially right-of-way costs are still continuing to go up. So revenues are not increasing and costs are not decreasing. So it's going to shape up to be another challenging year for FDOT to build a balanced work program, because that is what we have to do, is we have to build a balanced work program. So as we do that, our priorities are going to remain the same. Safety and preserving the system are going to be our first priorities to take care of before we start focusing on capacity improvements. Regional capacity priorities that are already funded for construction, we want to make sure that those continue to remain funded for construction and don't continue to slip. And some of those projects that we've talked about in the past include State Road 50 in East Orange County, the intersection of John Young Parkway at Pleasant Hill Road, one of the most congested intersections in the state of Florida, as well as State Road 434 widening in Orange County. So we continue to plan to use, all leveraging funding possibilities to make sure that those projects stay on schedule as they're currently planned before we start focusing on new opportunities. So more to come on that. And then next week, FDOT will be recognizing Rail Safety Week, the week of September 15th through the 19th. In 2024, there were 64 crashes across Central Florida that involved rail crossings and resulting in 3 fatalities and 3 serious injuries. In 2025 so far, there's been 46, resulting in 2 fatalities and 1 serious injury. So it is something that continues to occur. We live with trains, not just in Orlando, the greater Orlando area, but all over Central Florida. So this year's Sunrail campaign theme is going to be See Tracks, Think Train. And so that campaign will be coming out next week. So our creative team at the Sunrail program will be having all sorts of activities as well as communications going out to the local communities, and hopefully you can find an opportunity to share some of those in your communities as well. So the main takeaway of the campaign is, never go around the gates, and please do not stop any part of your vehicle on the tracks. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions in person? Seeing none, Lisa, we have any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll move on to roll call. Lisa, would you do the roll call, please, and confirmation of quorum?
Bates,
Here.
Constantine,
Here.
Gomez Cordero.
Here.
Delari,
Here.
Dyer,
Here.
Espinosa, Gilbert,
Here.
Janer,
Here.
Kapalusas,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Simrad, Smith, Ortiz,
Here.
Uribe,
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, moving forward, we'll have a committee report. First committee was the Municipal Advisory Committee. Commissioner?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Municipal Advisory Committee met on September 4th. We approved our June 26th meeting minutes. We recommended approval of the roll forward amendments to the fiscal year 25-26, fiscal year 29-30 Transportation Improvement Program. We received 2 presentations. The first was a status update on the 2050 MTP, and the second was a status update on Vision Zero Central Florida. There was a lot of good discussion and safety and micromobility. The MAC meeting next meets on November 6th, and this concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions in person? Any hands raised? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to now the Community Advisory Committee.
There you go. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I am Nelisa Council representing the Community Advisory Committee. At its August 27th meeting, the CAC recommended approval for the roll forward amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program. The committee heard updates on the 2050 MetroPlan, Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and Vision Zero. Members had questions about continuing safety improvements and praised the Vision Zero initiative for its accomplishments so far. Members also posed questions about the progress on the proposed Sunshine Corridor, intersection improvements at State Road 436 and State Road 434, the State Road 417 extension to the Orlando Sanford Airport, improvements on I-4 at Darrell Carter Parkway, and the Seminole County Scout Transit Service. Many of these were addressed by the MetroPlan Orlando staff and FDOT staff. Members also asked for some specific information from the FDOT about the cost and methods of removing painted side crosswalks in Central Florida. And the FDOT liaison has agreed to address these at a later time. The next CAC meeting is on October 22nd, 2025, and that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions in person? Lisa, any hands raised?
No.
Okay, thank you. And thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to Technical Advisory Committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. The Technical Advisory Committee met on August 22nd. Like the other advisory committees, TAC met in person with the physical quorum present. Our action items, all of which were unanimously approved or recommended for your approval, including our June 27th, 2025 meeting minutes and approval of the roll forward amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program for fiscal years 25-26 through 29-30. There were two comment presentations shared with the TISMO Advisory Committee as well, a status update on the 2050 MTP and a status update on the Vision Zero Central Florida. There were no TAC-only presentations. During member comments, TAC members discussed the Florida Department of Transportation Memo 2501 regarding crosswalks and traffic control markings. Members raised important points about the budgetary, safety, and community impacts of the memo and the subsequent letters agencies received all over the state. I encourage you, the board, to review the recording of the meeting. This discussion begins at about the 41-minute mark in the recording. We also received two public comments from citizens. One comment was regarding transit access across the region and the importance of providing such service. The other comment received came from an individual with extensive professional experience in transportation and public works in our region, as well as lived experience as they are a local City of Orlando resident. Their remarks centered around pedestrian safety, concerns about funding priorities, the state's shift towards pavement-only projects, but finding the funds to remove these crosswalks, memorial, and Vision Zero memorials and street art almost overnight. They also noted that there are studies showing that marked crosswalks with these additional designs have improved pedestrian safety and reduced speeds. I would encourage you again to listen to their comments directly in the meeting recording. Our next meeting is October 22nd, 2025 at 10 a.m. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my report.
Great. Any questions in person? Any hands raised? Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the Transportation System Management and Operation Advisory Committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The Transportation System Management and Operations TISMO Advisory Committee met on August 22nd, 2025. Two items were approved at the meeting. The first item was the minutes from the June 27th meeting. The second item was MetroPlan Orlando staff's request to approve roll forward amendments to the fiscal year 2025-26 through fiscal year 2029-30 Transportation Improvement Program. We had two presentations. Ms. Alice Price, FDOT District 7, gave a briefing on the Tampa Bay Smart Cities Alliance, which is a collaboration between public-private entities in the Tampa Bay region to deploy cutting-edge technologies across multiple disciplines. Also, Ms. Cheryl Bradley of the Eastern Transportation Coalition gave a presentation on the organization's work to support TISMO's strategies and workforce development in transportation. The next meeting for the TISMO Advisory Committee is on October 24th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions in person? Lisa, any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you. Thank you. Now move on to public comments on action items only. Comments on action items can be made in two ways: in person at the meeting, list of agenda items. Either you can see the agenda online, or you can get the agenda in the back of the room, or virtually on Zoom. If you're virtual, please raise your hand during the public comments, and we'll ask you to give us your name and address. Please fill out either the digital electronic speaker card or the handwritten card, and each member that wants to speak will be given 2 minutes to address the board on agenda items only at this time. General items will be given time to speak at the end of the meeting. Lisa, do we have any written requests?
I have not received any written requests and I do not see any hands raised online.
Okay. Seeing no one that has items that want to address public action items, move on, and we'll close public comments, and I'll move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, Jana?
Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we have action items, which is item number 9, which is the approval of the Transportation Improvement Plan, TIP. This will be a roll call vote. We'll now hear from staff.
Morning, Chairman and board members. This morning, we have our annual roll forward amendment. This includes projects that had funds that were originally programmed in last year's TIP for fiscal year 2025. These funds were not committed at the end of the fiscal year on June 30th, so they automatically roll forward into fiscal year 2026 in FDOT's new 5-year work program, which came out in July. And on our end, we need to amend our TIP to include these new funds to remain consistent with the 5-year work plan. This does not affect the cost or schedule of these projects. And as many of you know, this is a routine procedure that we go through at this time every year. There's more information in section 2 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we're asking for your motion of approval. Thank you.
Great. Any questions in person? Lisa, any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Okay, direction for the board. Need a motion.
Approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion from the mayor, second from Commissioner Moore. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? No, wait, roll call vote. Lisa, I'm sorry.
Bates,
Aye.
Constantine,
Yes.
Gomez Cordero, Delari,
Yes.
Dyer,
Yes.
Espinosa, Gilbert.
Aye.
Janer,
Yes.
Kapalusas,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Simrad, Smith,
Yeah.
Ortiz, Uribe,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Now move on to the informational items for acknowledgement. Is there a motion to accept them?
Motion to accept, Janer.
Second, you're reading.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, we'll now move on to other business and presentation. First one would be the status and update of the 2050 MPT. Staff will be doing that. This is very important for us because this will be the first of 3 presentations. We'll also be seeing the list in November for final approval in December. This is important due to the schedule and the timing of these items. We'll now hear from staff.
Good morning. My name is Taylor Laurent, and I'll be presenting an update not only on our 2050 MTP, but most specifically a preview of our draft cost feasible plan. So the draft cost feasible plan incorporates all of the work that has been completed through the MTP thus far, including our needs assessment, or what I usually refer to as our transportation to-do list, the project prioritization methodology, revenue forecasts, as well as the funding policy, which is our guide to how we spend the limited funding available within our region programmatically. So we've been talking about that funding policy for the majority of this calendar year, and we did reach consensus in our June and July meeting cycle, where all of our advisory committees and our board members unanimously agreed on this funding policy. So with that, that includes dedicated funding for high injury network countermeasures, as well as urban corridor improvements, TISMO projects, active transportation or bicycle and pedestrian projects, as well as transit capital. Now, that particular funding policy applies to one of the 4 buckets of funding that will be included within the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So I'll walk us through how each of these different types of funding are represented within the draft cost feasible plan. So starting with the first 2, moving from left to right, these funds for federal and state funds for state highway system and other roadways are included on a single draft cost feasible and unfunded needs list for the state highway system where those funds must be used. This is the longest of our draft cost feasible tables because it has the most funding available for those particular projects. And these funds can be used for roadway widenings, urban corridor improvements, operational solutions, bicycle and pedestrian projects, and other types of improvements, but again, on the state highway system. Then we have our third bucket of funds. These are federal funds attributable for MetroPlan Orlando priorities. And this is where that funding policy that we've been discussing this year is directly applied. So within these funds, they are subdivided based on the categories from our funding policy. And we have draft cost feasible and unfunded needs lists for each of those particular subcategories, including those high injury network countermeasures, urban corridor improvements, TISMO, and active transportation projects. And it is important to note that local governments will need to earn and maintain their local agency program or LAP certification in order to be eligible to receive these funds as local governments move to implement these projects if and when they're funded to move forward. Then we had one other category from our MPO funding policy, and that was transit capital. That is represented along with our fourth bucket of funds for our federal funds for transit, those formula funds that we've discussed throughout the year, on a single cohesive regional transit cost feasible and unfunded needs list. So we have one cohesive overview of the capital operations and maintenance view of our rail and bus services throughout the region. So with this, the reminder that these projects again focus on maintaining existing capital operations and services and are represented with 7 cost feasible policies and programs. Now, all of these lists are organized in a consistent manner, which I'll walk through now, but all of the draft lists that I have presented today were provided to your staff about a month ago. So if you have questions about the projects within them, you can reach out to us at MPO staff or your staff as well to review certain items. But all of these lists are organized in a cohesive manner, beginning with projects that are in progress. Projects that are partially programmed within our transportation improvement program, but not yet finished, because we want to finish the projects that we've started first. Then we have our existing and committed projects, which are fully programmed within the TIP, but must be included within the long-range plan for planning consistency. Then we have the new cost feasible projects, the projects that have not yet been started, but are considered to be cost feasible within the 20-year planning horizon of this MTP. And then we have the unfunded needs for the identified needs throughout our region that we will not be able to address over this planning horizon of this plan. So while that represents the majority of the funds within our 2050 MTP, there are a few additional cost feasible lists that are coming soon. And this includes state and federal funds for our interstate and strategic intermodal systems list, which is based on the FDOT plan. Our Florida Turnpike Enterprise list based on their needs, as well as the aviation needs based on those identified by our airports. Then we have other transportation needs and opportunities that are included for planning consistency, which is where we document the Central Florida Expressway Authority's master plan needs, as well as those identified by each of our local governments and municipalities. So as we look forward to next steps, we are developing that draft cost feasible plan and all of the other MTP documentation, which will be published on our website very soon. And all of this is being done in preparation for that 2050 MTP public meeting, which again will be on September 29th, just 2 weeks away. The next time we meet, we will be previewing the overall 2050 MTP at your November meeting and ultimately asking for your adoption of the 2050 MTP this December. So with that in mind and those milestones, we are on track to complete the 2050 MTP and ask for its adoption in December of this year, just in a few short months. So thank you very much for your time this morning. Does anyone have any questions?
Again, 2050, it's right around the corner. There'll be a couple more meetings. I'm sure I'll have a couple more gray hairs by then. Any questions in person? Lisa, any hands raised?
No hands raised.
Thank you very much for your presentation. At this time, move on to the update of Vision Zero.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Good to see you all this morning. My name is Laura Bauk. Happy to be with you to let you know what we've been doing in the Vision Zero and safety planning space since my last update, I think at our April meeting. So I'm going to start off with an update on our first State Streets and Roads for All grant that we applied for back in 22 and were awarded in 23. As you may remember, we adopted that regional Vision Zero safety action plan at our September meeting last year. And we worked with all of our local partners to develop local, municipal, and county safety action plans. All of those are completed and most have been adopted at this point. As a part of that first grant agreement, we committed to doing demonstration projects, one in each county. So I want to give you a rundown of what those look like. So down in Osceola County, that demonstration project looked at 5 pedestrian crossings throughout the county. They had different contexts. Some were at signalized locations, some mid-block, a few near schools. And the intent of that demonstration was to evaluate potential safety countermeasures that would make sense both at those specific locations, but also where we could systematically apply those at other locations throughout the county that had a similar context. In Orange County, that demonstration project focused on developing a bike safety program that's aimed at middle school students. Initially, the intent was to develop the program and pilot it as part of the demonstration project. We had some issues with our instructors, but we were able to work with the FHWA and pivot, and the demonstration really focused on developing out those program materials. So now we have a curriculum, promotional materials, evaluation materials, and staff is currently coordinating with our local partners to look for a place to actually pilot the program and also looking for a long-term implementation home. And then up in Seminole County, that demonstration project involved deploying software at 15 signalized intersections. We used cameras that were already there and deployed the software that looked at near miss crashes. So those are places where there was almost a crash, but not quite. The intent of that demonstration project was to look at that type of software as a potential tool that we can use moving forward to help us get to those 0 fatal and serious injury crashes. So at this point, all of those demonstration projects have wrapped up. We have final documentation that we're currently working on putting into the technical appendix for the Regional Safety Action Plan, so those will be available soon. Staff is also working with our contacts at FHWA to close out that first grant, and that's going well. Something else that we've been working on over the last month, I think I mentioned this at the last update, was working on bringing the resources that were on our Vision Zero Hub website under the umbrella of our main MetroPlan Orlando website. At this point, that activity has been completed. We continue to work, the planning team and comm staff, to update those pages under our safety tab there. But all of those resources from the hub site are now available through the main MetroPlan Orlando website, including our regional crash dashboard. And we actually also just kicked off a task to update the dashboard to include 2 new years of data that have become available, 2023 and 2024. Currently up on the dashboard, we have crashes from 2018 through 22. That's what we used for the development of the safety action plans, but we'll be adding in those 2 new years of data so we can continue to look at safety trends as we move along. We're also getting ready to kick off a task to do our first annual report. As I said, we adopted that plan, that regional safety action plan at our last September meeting, so it's about that time. As a part of that annual reporting, we will be looking at what the crash trends, how they've shifted over the last year. We'll be taking a look at our progress moving through the 34 actions that we identified as a part of the regional safety action plan. We'll also be coordinating with your staff at all of our municipalities and counties to talk to them about how they're moving through the actions within their individual safety action plans. And we'll be talking about next steps, lessons learned, and then what updates we might want to incorporate into that next major update for our safety action plans. There are also performance measures that have been identified for each of the action plans. They're teeny tiny on the right-hand side of this slide, but we'll be pulling the KPIs and the different data so that we can take a look at where we are with those measures as a part of our monitoring program. Thinking about how far we've come of those 34 actions that are within the Regional Safety Action Plan, we've either completed or have started on at least 14 of those. A few that I want to highlight, we're really proud of the work that we've been able to do to incorporate the 330 plus projects that came from all of the various safety action plans into our needs assessment. We were also able to work with all the teams working on the MTP update to incorporate safety better into our prioritization. And of course, we have that new bucket in our funding plan to better to help us with delivering those projects that are on the high injury networks. Well, our work is not done. We still have 20 of those 34 actions that we need to get started on. The ones that I've highlighted here are sort of in our on deck circle. A couple that I'll highlight. One of the things we'll be working on next is looking at creating some guidance around target speed setting. And actually at our next task force meeting, we'll be working through an activity with those who are able to attend on what a speed setting tool that FHWA has put out. So we're looking forward to that. And we're also coordinating with staff who are interested in potentially looking at corridors where we can use signal timing as a means of regulating speeds. You know, we have our annual signal retiming program. This will be something that's a little bit different, specifically looking at regulating speeds. So we'll keep you updated as we progress on those actions. And then we were notified of award of our second Safe Streets and Roads for All grant back in last November. That was on hold for a bit, but funds are being released and we're working with our FHWA points of contact on getting a grant agreement executed for that second grant now. It's being reviewed by FHWA at the moment, and we're hopeful that we'll get that executed in the next month or two. As a part of the funding with that second grant, we're going to continue our safety-focused outreach, as well as embarking on a road safety audit program. The intent of that program will be to do road safety evaluations on as many corridors as we can fund on our various high injury network corridors, with the intent of really developing out what the safety project might look like on that particular corridor, so we can get those into CIPs and into work programs. With that grant funding, we'll also be doing some additional data analysis and starting to think about what the updates need to be from all of those activities into our next major update for the safety action plan. For that RSA program specifically, we're going to be running it administratively similarly to how we did the safety action plans, where we'll have a local project manager from each of the counties or cities that are that submit for those RSAs. And right now we have a call for projects open through the end of the month, September 30th. So if you have any corridors on your mind, you can work with your staff to confirm they're on the HIN and make sure that they're submitting those for consideration. We've already heard back from a lot of people, so looking forward to moving forward with that process soon. We are also continuing our Vision Zero Safety Speaker Series, where we have quarterly webinars. We talk about best practices both in the state and nationally to help all of us who are trying to deliver our safety action plans learn about best practices and be inspired. Our next safety speaker series will be in mid-October. We should have that specific date in the next couple of days, so look out for publicity about that. But we'll be focusing on e-micromobility safety. It's been a topic of interest here at this board, as well as the advisory committees. Lots more people, students, and beyond that are on those types of devices. And so we have a white paper actually that we're wrapping up now that's looking at trends statewide and nationally in terms of usage, policy regulations around those types of devices. So we'll be reporting out on that white paper at the next webinar, as well as having a presentation on the impacts of speed on safety, because those impacts are true not just in vehicles, but also on these types of devices. And then we'll have some tips and tricks for how we can all be safer users of those types of devices. And then for our Q4 series, which will be later this year, we'll be focusing on a 20th plenty paradigm that's being adopted by some municipalities here in the state, as well as beyond. We'll be looking at what that looks like. And we'll also be continuing our quarterly task force meetings. Our next meeting's in a couple weeks on September 23rd. It's going to be in person. And as I mentioned, we'll be doing that target speed setting exercise during that meeting, as well as having a report out on some RSAs that we did in coordination with FHWA earlier this year. We were out on Poinciana Boulevard down in Osceola County. We also did one on University Boulevard in Orange County. Commissioner Laurie, thank you for joining us for the field review for that one. So we'll be reporting out on the findings for that and getting everyone in the right headspace to understand what their RSAs may be looking like as we embark on our program here. And then we'll have an initial roundtable to talk about our annual reporting. And with that, I'm complete and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions online, questions in person? Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Lots of good information. I know we had to zoom through it, and I was wondering if there's any more information we can get on the program in a box. It was interesting, the
Yes.
Osceola, Orange, and Seminole counties safety pilots looked very different, at least from the slide. And I would love more details. I think obviously focusing on middle schoolers when they first get those, sometimes micromobility devices and they're off on their own, it's a great idea. But we do find that there's been probably more, at least I hear about more incidents with our youngest and our high schoolers because they're out there in the dark. So if there's any way to expand on that, or if we get more information so that we have an ability to maybe implement some of those program in a box ideas individually, that'd be great.
Absolutely, have to share that.
Any other questions in person? Commissioner?
Thank you. So we have our comprehensive land use plan that we're going through right now called Vision 2050. And Orange County has a Vision Zero, right? To have zero pedestrian and bicyclist accidents. But one of the issues that we found within our comprehensive land use plan, when we look at your action plan of what you're trying to get, and of course the partners that you need to make it work, are some of our safety features that would support what you're trying to do were deemed more burdensome and restrictive by the state per Senate Bill 180. And I just want to understand, one, is that if you have benchmarked some of the program against Senate Bill 180 or had some type of a review, because now we're in a predicament. Our comp plan was rejected, sent back. There's 14 policies that have to be addressed, but some of them pertain to safety features that we were trying to implement within our comprehensive plan.
Okay.
So I don't know if that, I mean, how do you, when you list your partners, do you have state as a partner?
We're in coordination with District 5, Lorraine Bobo, the safety administrator from District 5, pretty constantly. Yes. We haven't done the safety benchmarking against that bill yet, but I'd love to follow up with you so we can take a look at it.
Yeah, and I would love to follow up with you as well, because I mean, these are things that we're trying to make our community safer. And it's being deemed more burdensome and restrictive. And it's disappointing is one, but it's also concerning when you see like MetroPlan trying to push this thing, but this big idea that benefits so many, all of our communities. And then you've got municipalities, you've got counties trying to implement it, and the state is striking it. So I think that the partnership at the state level is problematic in advocating for these safety measures.
Let's talk after.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
I appreciate the opportunity, the presentation. I would also like to have further information, because this is a growing issue that we're all dealing respectively in our districts. And one of the questions I want to ask you, so the e-mobility, that is the one that terrifies me the most, because it's faster than a bike and things like that. When
Right.
you think of the kind of speed. And the reason why I wanted to follow up is, are you working with the counties and the municipalities? Because one of the things that I've been noticing, this is just my own take, I've been observing this for a while, is the way we come up to a road and the fact that they're on sidewalks. Sometimes the setbacks are so close, and that's more of our zoning and setbacks and our own unincorporated division, where you can't see an e-rider. And because of the amount of speed, pedestrian person can stop, a bicyclist could, tap into you, but those mobilities are like going like 20 miles an hour on a sidewalk, right? So I just wonder, like, are you looking holistically? Because as you're setting up this plan, while in theory it's great, and we do, and I think we were talking about it with our UCF, we're doing a lot of investment on UCF for safety, is how do you educate and train? And I think Channel 6 even did an article on it recently, because the level of speed, and it's just almost impossible. It's almost like considered when we have our safety moment that you can't stop, and that quickly to try to prevent the impact. So I hope that you'll look at it, or you guys will open that discussion about setbacks and access to those points along corridors.
So a few responses. Yeah, yes. I think the e-bike and e-micromobility devices, how visible that is, I think has really increased a lot since we sort of wrapped a lot of that safety action planning. But it's part of the reason we did the white paper. We'll say there's an element of the white paper that talks about how we can better design for safety, keeping in mind that we have these devices out on our roadways now. So that's something that we're looking at there. And like many of our other plans, the safety action plans will get updated every 5 years is the schedule that we're on right now. So we'll be able to work some more of that, I think, into our next major update. But along the way, we're continuing to think about it. And in terms of how holistically we consider that as a part of the initial development of the safety action plans, we had a sort of a benchmarking exercise that all of the plans went through, looking at all of the policies for each of the municipalities and counties, looking at things like setbacks, other things that may be in your land development code that may not support safety. So that's already been somewhat looked at. How much that incorporates e-micromobility depends on the municipality, but I think it'll be probably a focus for those next major updates.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. And it's interesting to see these folks on these, vehicles on their phones.
Yes.
I'm like, that's the worst part you want to be, because there's not really a lot of coming back from that. That's a very severe accident. Thank you. Thanks for your work. And please include us. And if you can send us more, because I'm also interested on how we can help push this further in our communities. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else on this side? Commissioner?
Thank you. This is such a broad, deep topic, and I think you were hitting it at a very high level. And so I look forward to more information and details. And you're really working it from every angle. And so I appreciate that, but there's so much more work that we need to do and hear about. So I hope you'll be updating us or offering some opportunities to bring our staff to get a little more in detail on some of these things. And then I wanted to, I have a Take Over the Trail event on the 20th, and I'm working with the school to give a middle school actually with Bike Walk Central Florida to donate 40 bikes. So I'd be happy to approach them if you would like that school for
We
your
will
pilot
follow.
school. So
Thank
I'll
you.
get with you after the meeting.
Fantastic. That sounds
All right,
perfect.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Lisa, any hands raised?
No hands raised.
The only thing I'd like to add, when you do, before you finish everything up, make sure that law enforcement and fire and paramedics are involved, because there's gonna be issues about enforcement. And there is a big uptick when it comes to paramedic response on e-bikes and e-mobility. So I just want to make sure all that's addressed in that, if it's possible.
Okay.
Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move into public comments and general items only. First, we're gonna go to the public in person, then we're gonna go online. Please fill out a speaker card that's in the back of the room or digitally. Digitally, when we get to you, please raise your hand. Lisa will call you and you'll have 2 minutes and I will keep the time. And wait a minute. Lisa, do we have any speaker cards?
I do see a hand raised online. It's Alex.
Can we do the ones in
O'Leary.
person first?
If you want to do the ones in person, I received one in person, and that is from Chris Blim.
And please state your name and address for the record.
Chris, the address I'm providing is 207 East Concord Street, 22803.
Thank you. Your time begins.
I'd like to thank the board, Secretary Tyler, and I should note for everyone at home that Mayor Dyer has just left the meeting. Thank you. My name is Chris Blem. I'm an Orlando resident and a proud Florida native. I recently went back to UCF many years later, pursuing my master's, and the first thing that I'm reminded of is that our work must be grounded in facts. So I'd like to share a few facts with you if you don't mind. A 2022 study by Bloomberg Philanthropies found that asphalt art projects result in 50% fewer crashes involving pedestrians, 37% fewer crashes with injuries, and 27% increase in drivers yielding to pedestrians. The conclusion was art-driven street projects make roads safer. Meanwhile, Smart Growth America found that Florida consistently ranks as the most dangerous state for pedestrians. 8 of the 20 most dangerous cities are here in Florida, including Orlando, which is ranked 18. And yet we hear officials like Secretary Duffy and Governor DeSantis dismiss rainbow crosswalks and Black Lives Matter street art as political. But the evidence is clear that this is not about safety and has never been about safety. It's about silencing vulnerable communities. So I ask of you, what for? Where is our moral compass? When does doing one's job become complicit in erasing marginalized voices? One day our grandchildren will ask us what side we stood on. And what will that answer be now and when we're gone? So I urge you, take a stance, speak out, and we will uplift you. Resign when faced with impossible tasks, and we will welcome you. But if you continue to act on hateful legislation, we will continue to fight back at the ballot box with chalk in hand. I thank you all for your time, and please bring this back to your friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Spare the time. Okay. Anyone else in person, Lisa?
I have not received any more in-person comment.
Anyone else in the audience would like to speak before we go to the internet? Lisa, which hands we have raised?
Okay, I will start with Alexander Alemi, Alemi.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi, my name is Alex Alemi. I live in Kissimmee, Florida, and I also wanted to speak out on the actions that the state recently undertook in relation to Memorandum 2402, 2501, which made earlier reference to Memorandum 2402, which inserted language into the Florida Design Manual section 127.2. That section focused on surface art and defined surface art as markings not in direct support of traffic control or public safety. The problem is, I live in Kissimmee near the NeoCity development, and the NeoCity development had these beautiful green bicycle crossings, one of the only places in the county with a dedicated bicycle crossing, and those were just painted over black and white. I feel like the state's actions in this case is not in the interest of public safety. Lots of crosswalks were erased. Lots of safe crosswalks were erased. And I am extremely disappointed in those actions. I think that a lot of the crosswalks that were erased are very clearly in the interest of public safety and traffic control devices, recognized by memorandums such as the interim approval for optional use of green colored pavement for bike lanes by the Federal Department of Transportation. I think studies like the previous speaker mentioned, as well as an FDOT study they did themselves in St. Petersburg in 2008, find that green crosswalks aid in safety and yielding of cars to pedestrians. The MetroPlan Vision Central Florida Safety Action Plan also in its prioritized list of projects includes high visibility crosswalks. Basically, I've called the county commission, I've called the county transportation board. Everyone I call sort of passes the buck and says that there's nothing they could do. Here, a lot of the work that this board has done, a lot of the great work that this board has done to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety has been undone in the last few weeks. And I guess my question is, what are you going to do about that? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lisa, do we have anyone else?
Corey Hill.
You say Corey Mills or Corey Hills?
Hill,
Yep.
Hill.
Okay, thank you. Corey Hill.
Definitely not Corey Mills.
I wanted to make sure we got the name right, sir. Sometimes my hearing's not that good.
just want to make that clear. Corey Hill, Orlando, Florida. And we live in an era where lives frequently go unchallenged. So let's be plain and truthful what's going on across the state and in Orlando right now with Ron DeSantis' plans to paint over public art on our roadways. It's not about saving money. The state's already spent $100,000 vandalizing our crosswalk, including pressure washing, painting, paying $30 an hour for law enforcement to be there day and night. It's not about public safety. You've already heard some of the previous speakers talk about this, referencing that Bloomberg philanthropy study from 2022 and multiple others that show that it decreases traffic crashes. So if it's not about money and it's not about safety, we're left with only one explanation. Ron DeSantis and his cronies in the state government want to erase us. They want to control whose stories get told and who's given a place of prominence. So here's our simple demand: grant the exemption. FDOT makes exemptions all the time for contextual constraints, for costs, for safety trade-offs. What's usually happening is FDOT is customizing something at the request of a developer. So isn't honoring the victims of a mass shooting at least as important as a developer's whims? Ron DeSantis said roadways aren't for politics. But how many streets in Florida are named in honor of Confederate traitors? Florida, for example, has more streets named Dixie than any other state in the U.S. If naming roads after people who went to war against the United States to preserve slavery isn't political, the word has no meaning. So roadways aren't for politics, apparently, unless they are the politics that Ron DeSantis agrees with. Yet another piece of the hateful anti-democratic whole that defines this fascist governor and his collaborators. Here's your choice. You are at a moment in history where you can decide whether you're going to be a collaborator or whether you're going to fight and be with the people. Grant the exemption. We will not be erased and we will not be silent. Thank you.
Lisa, anyone else?
Joanne Canellis.
Joanne? Can you give us your name and address for the record, even though we know you?
Yeah, hi, this is Joanne Canellis, 324 Claremont Avenue, Lakeville, Florida, 32746. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Your time begins now.
Yes, yeah. We'd like to have 24 hours bus and train service, including holidays, weekends, and nighttime, including Seminole County as well as Orange and Osceola County and stuff. Even if I do ride in the Scout transportation starting next month and this month too, we still do need a 24 hours bus and train service, including the holidays, weekends, and nighttime, so that no one would be stranded like that. That way, everybody in Florida can have nice, good transportation here. Okay?
Okay.
Because I don't want anyone getting hurt on their feet, like I did beforehand. And yes, I did have Charlie horse yesterday, last 2 nights ago, and I didn't like it. Yesterday morning, I mean. I was still asleep. That's why. So I'm going, We need all the transportation we can get every 15 minutes everywhere so that no one would be stranded like that or get rained on or get hot on in the sun or anything like that or cold. Even in cold weather, it still hurts. It's still terrible. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care, Joanne. Don't forget to download the app for Scout. Lisa, anyone else?
Ramon Piera Bonilla.
Hi, good morning, folks. My name is Ramon. I live in Orlando, Florida, 32803. I would like to speak on the new FDOT street art rule. Look, I think we can all agree that if a
Time will
policy.
begin. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, what was that?
I said your time will begin. I just wanna
Okay,
make
thank
sure
you. Yep. I think we can all agree that if a policy is going to make people more safe or save us money in the long run, it makes sense for our government to spend money on that policy. But this poorly planned and researched rule does not make people more safe and instead simply waste our taxpayer funds and resources. And don't just take my word for it. Let's look at one of the most comprehensive studies conducted on this issue over the course of 2 years in 17 different cities. This Bloomberg study found that crashes involving pedestrians and other valuable road users dropped by 50%. Injury causing crashes decreased by 37%. Total crashes saw a 17% reduction. Pedestrian driver conflicts fell by 25%. Drivers yielding immediately to pedestrians and right of way increased by 27%, and instances of pedestrian crossings against walk signals dropped by 38%. And again, don't take my word for it. If you want to read this study yourself, you can find it at this handy dandy little link I made at bit.ly/FDOT sucks. That's capital FDOT, lowercase sucks. And for FDOT, I have some specific questions, which I would like to start with. One, what is the combined total cost of painting over all of the crosswalks and streets across the state that they have targeted? Two, what is the combined total cost of painting over the Pulse crosswalk memorial 3 separate times, and the cost of stationing at least 2 Florida Highway Patrol officers there for almost 4 weeks at this point? And then third, what studies can they cite to show that painted crosswalks are more unsafe than regular ones? And lastly, to my queer friends and allies, remember this: you are seen, you are loved, and you are powerful. Chalk is cheap. There are crosswalks and potholes everywhere. And importantly, there are way more of us than there are of them. Ball Rainbows Everywhere Coalition on social media, and please join the movement. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Jen Cousins.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. After you give your name, I'll tell you when the time starts.
Sure, Jen Cousins, and I live in Orlando, 32828.
Your time starts now. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would like to address the new street art rule that has allowed the state to vandalize beautiful art around this supposedly free state of Florida. And I'd like to thank all the previous speakers for citing the relevant data as to why these colored crosswalks have been beneficial. I'd also like to say that it's noteworthy that FDOT does make exceptions for road designs all the time, particularly if it's to benefit developers. So your office will customize things for a developer, but come onto city-owned streets in the middle of the night and destroy beloved artwork. I also want to remind you that Florida Statute 316.07458 states that the Department of Transportation is authorized to permit traffic control devices not in conformity with the uniform system upon showing of good cause. So by your own statute, you should have allowed the city of Orlando to formally make its exemption request to preserve the Pulse crosswalk before you destroyed it. As I'm sure you know, Pulse is a sacred site for many in our community, and the state's callous action has enraged our city. We also just had Doge here, both in Orlando and Orange County, and so now I would like to see a Doge report on how much money the state has wasted in the past month by painting over our crosswalk 3 times, as well as stationing FHP officers at the Dunkin' across the street to routinely threaten citizens who come to the site to mourn, reflect, and show respect to the victims of the tragedy. Where is the line item in the state budget to pay for this nonsense? Last week, y'all came in and painted over storm drain art. How does storm drain art affect traffic? I would like to know. The state needs to know that we will not be erased and we will continue fighting back against this extreme bias until it stops. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
We do not have any more.
Okay. All right. That concludes our public input. We'll close public input. Gary, can you make sure all these comments are given to the proper agencies? MetroPlan Orlando is an agency that sets priorities. We don't spend money. And we will make sure that the appropriate agencies get these questions and comments. Is that okay, Gary?
We'll follow up with everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to board comments. Anyone in person like to have a board comment? To my right? To my left? Stephanie?
I just want to make one comment. It's great to be here, but I also want to thank our former chair, Tim Weishire, and Carson Good for their service. They have dedicated a lot to our airport and to our community, and I am grateful for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner?
I just want to thank the people who spoke today, both here in person and online. It takes a lot of courage right now. And as a county official who's trying to do right by my citizens every single day, and I've had myself threatened, my staff is their careers threatened. Just know that we're working really hard to make sure we're representing the wishes, desires, needs, and safety, paramount safety of all of our citizens. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, anyone else? I'll get back to Commissioner.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted everybody here to know that you see most times, and today you heard from Joanne of Seminole County talking about the concerns of, mass transit and difficulty with individuals with special needs. I just want you to know that she is going to be one of our spokesmen for our micro transit program that we're starting in October, because she realizes that it's not 24/7, but it's pretty darn close. But it's only in Seminole County.
I had the privilege of taking half a day and riding Sunrail with Joanne. And I was amazed that she memorized not just the rail schedule, but the bus schedule. And I was also amazed that when you ride the rail with her, you're riding with a celebrity. And it's not just the people that work there, it's the people on the trains and at the stations.
Everybody knows.
I was amazed. And she was telling us what we were doing. Yeah. There was someone to my right that wanted to speak. I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't see you.
Thank you. I just wanted to also say to the people in the audience, I sat up in my office and watched a beautiful blue sidewalk just go from a nice blue where it was very visible. It added a charm to the area, just be painted over with standard black and white. I know that a lot of those crosswalks were significant to community, and our local government is really disturbed by it too. And I echo the sentiments of Commissioner Wilson. So thank you for coming out. And then to MetroPlan, I'm concerned about the fact that we're advocating for safety measures that we all concur on. We all identify that we need. Research tells us that we need it. Like when you get reports that Orlando is one of the deadliest cities for pedestrian and bicyclists, streets accidents. And then we get a state bill like State Bill 180 that says that when we try to implement those safety measures, they're burdensome and restrictive. And Orange County has joined a lawsuit to challenge the state on that interpretation of what is more burdensome and restrictive. Because I'll tell you what is not or shouldn't be is safety. Public safety is not more burdensome and restrictive. It's an obligation. And so I think that it's important for organizations like MetroPlan to weigh in and say, hey, this is our vision for safety. This is how we keep people safe on our roads. And if the state is going to deem public safety more burdensome and restrictive, we take issue with that. This is a law that has really overreached and really been contaminated by developer interests. And we have to advocate for what is right, and our communities have the right to walk, bike, use multimodal transportation, have access to complete streets that was on there. And right now, when you try to implement those measures to require them, they are more burdensome and restrictive. So I think it's really important for a message from MetroPlan to contact the state and say, we have expressed concern about this law.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lisa, do we have any hands raised?
Councilman Gilbert has his hand raised on the virtual side.
Okay. Councilman?
Yes, good morning. Folks, I'll be attending the Florida Planning Conference in Daytona next week, and I look forward to seeing any board member or staff member that will be attending also. It's a great conference, and I know there's some staff members, but I look forward to seeing any board members that will be attending that conference also. And I yield back.
Lisa, anyone else online? Okay. Commissioner, another comment?
Just because we're out in the sunshine, I'm not able to say it. The representative that you're visiting, I believe sometime soon, about retaining MPOs because there was a movement to abolish MPOs, is the same bill sponsor for SB 180. So just to make sure that, you know, the understanding of the power of the MPO is that for as long as we have the ability to do this under legislation. So there may be opportunities to advocate for, you know, that localized regional importance on more than one level.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Chairman, I don't know if Gary's going to say anything, but the conference on transportation that's next week, we're going to be there, and I'll be doing one of the panels with another elected official. So maybe Gary can share.
Yes, I had mentioned to Commissioner Delary this morning that I'll be at AMPO, the Association of MPOs, all next week, Monday through Friday. While we're there, I'll be presenting on Laura's behalf, our Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. Laura couldn't make it because she'll be getting an award for that same project at the Florida APA conference, as well as presenting and serving. So we continue to be recognized for the work that we do. But I did want to comment on as well on Commissioner Samrod's and Commissioner Wilson's concern and other concerns that were raised. Virginia and I believe we have a meeting set with Ryan Matthews, our state lobbyist, and getting ready for the 26th legislative session. And I imagine Senate Bill 180 and its impact to local governments will be one of those things that makes it onto the MetroPlan list, certainly for discussion at least.
Okay, thank you. See no other comments, no other hands raised. Our next board meeting is November 12th, this year, 2025 at 9 a.m. This meeting is now adjourned.